Hey guys, it's 7 Ninja 7, and today we're going to be reacting to a video from Wise Guy Vito called "Can Arrowhead Keep to Their Own Standard?" Helldivers 2. It's about the Helldivers X Warhammer Warbond that will be coming later this year. So let's get into it.
Fellas, we need to talk about the most recent announcement for Helldivers, which is there's going to be a legendary warbond and it's going to be Warhammer 40k themed. Now, this is going to be more of a unscripted video. I'm going to kind of get my thoughts on this. So first and foremost, I am surprised by this. I am like marginally excited for this, but it's only marginal. And the reason why is because legendary warbonds or collaborative content in Helldivers 2 is or has been bad. The two worst warbonds in Helldivers 2 are the Halo ODST warbond and the Killzone warbond. Those are by far the two worst warbonds in the game. And I think that they really need to make this warbond particularly not necessarily special, because I mean, of course, like it should be special, but not necessarily special, but needs to feel powerful. Whenever I think of a power fantasy, okay, even with grunts, from
One thing that I'm like really expecting from this Warbond, I don't expect to see the Imperium of Man. It would have been fine if it wasn't for the guard dog or the turrets that we have in the game. Like anything that has AI in it doesn't work for the lore, and GW cares a great deal about their lore. So I do not expect to see the Imperium ban whatsoever. I actually expect to see the Tau and what is called a Guevesa. So basically, the human warriors that work under the Tau. I expect to see them. Again, the main reason comes from the very idea that the Imperium of Man hates AI with a passion, so much so that they'll go to destroy any form of it. There's certain people that can use AI, but for the most part, it's majorly destroyed or controlled in some fashion. So I do not expect to see any form of Imperium of Man whatsoever. Um, Maybe the Leagues of Votan, but like I'm doubting that. They do kind of work for this idea as well, but I'm gonna be honest. They're not as big of a name as like the Tau are, and so I kind of expect to see the Tau being the ones who carry the torch when it comes to this AI thing for the
the
Warbond.
Warframe universe, okay? These guys are using las weapons. These guys are using bolt pistols, right? These guys are using power swords, even, right? It's in the even word, like the words of the weapons, power swords, power axes. There needs to be a level of power fantasy in this warbond, whether the devs like it or not, okay? If this warbond does not have the power fantasy, it is dead on arrival. Period.
I mean, what he's getting at really to the heart of it is like every time they've dropped a collaborative, a legendary warbond, it's always kind of felt weak. I mean, they buffed suppressors since before Redacted. Right before Redacted had came out because people were complaining about Redacted regiments suppressors being terrible, and I even made my own Reddit post trying to explain how we could actually get quieter suppressors and it would actually make sense. But it literally took a huge effort to get that to happen, and it just feels like we're gonna have something that's subpar again. And so, like, I get like where the community's heads at when they're saying like, "Oh, it's gonna be a terrible warbond," because like their track record hasn't been good when it comes to legendaries. When it comes to legendaries, the weapons usually tend to feel bad. It's just kind of how it is. I'm not saying that there couldn't be some things like I know people will say, well, just aim for the head or aim for the weak spot. But the reality of the situation is there's too many variables in those situations. And when you're using these weapons, you want to feel the power fantasy of what the weapon is supposed to be. It needs to be strong. The fact that it isn't is a problem.
End of story, okay? And to kind of show what I mean here, where players are kind of skeptical on this type of warbond, if you just read the kind of comments that's under this kind of partnership announcement for the YouTube video that Helldivers puts out, you see things like, for example, here, Can't wait for my light pen bolter gun.
Let's stop here and talk about that. Listen, anytime they brought in weapons for collaboration, right? Like we got like maybe one medium pin gun inside of both of them, right? And it was like, yeah, that gun felt great. Those guns felt great. The sniper rifle was kind of hard. It's hard to say because I've used the sniper rifle. Shoot, I bought the Killzone Warbond and I've used the sniper rifle. I'm not entirely sure where it belongs. It just feels weird to me. Um, but like the light pin guns just feel like reskins for the most part, and then, like, if the suppressors were on the, light pin guns on there, they would've just been guns we would've had before, just in light pin version or just, another version of the same gun. Um, but again, what we want is something strong. You know, if it's gonna cost extra money, it needs to feel powerful. And medium pin and heavy pin, but mostly medium pin. If they were to make sure that every legendary war bonds weapons were medium pin and up, it would guarantee number one that those guns are good. All right. Some people would disagree with me, but the point that I would make is that when it comes down to the casual player, the player that they seem to be focused on, light pin has never been the actual good thing to go to. When you look at like the weapons that are used the most in the weapon usage list that they have out there. I forgot what it's called, but they have an actual site. You can find out like the weapon usage for every weapon since a patch. Um, you always find like these heavy, medium pin guns are always at the top. And the reality of the situation is, besides like maybe a new gun that's just came out in the Warbond, the reality of the situation is that the majority of players want a gun that works regardless of how good their aim is. They want a gun that works when variables become off paper, and light pin weapons have never been good for actually just dominating dominating in situations where paper doesn't work.
There's another comment right here. Can't wait for my light pen bolter. Some guy here saying, the soup, Arrowhead. Where is the soup? Someone saying, cake is nice, but we still need the soup. This is in reference to Commissar Kai's again. Kai's been kind of getting critical of the game because, to be perfectly honest with you, there are still problems with the game, and we'll get into that here, in a few. As you can see, a lot of people are just not really excited for this because they kind of know what they're going to be getting. There's another comment right here. Can't wait for those weapon reskins. People want
Let's talk about that for a second.
in the beginning. There's another
Weapon reskins. Literally, the Killzone AR is literally just a liberator, right? The difference between what we had, basically, this gun came out during a time when we didn't have weapon customization. So when it came out, it would have been fine. But the second we got weapon customization, it literally becomes a reskin of a weapon that's actually better than it. Right? It happened automatically. You can customize. You can put scopes on it. You can change the mag size. All of that. It became overnight. It became useless and became a reskin. So the reality of the situation is that like uh it inherently and makes it inherently and values it on the fact that it is number one light pin because there's so many weapons that do the same damages, but it inherently it looks like a reskin because it doesn't do anything different from the original weapons that are in the game as it is.
comment right here. Can't wait for those weapon reskins. People want weapons from the Warhammer 40K universe. And what we mean by that is, and this goes, by the way, from Killzone to Halo 3 ODST to now this Warbond. What we want with these collaborative weapons within these collaboration Warbonds is that the weapons not only look cool, but are cool, that be cool, that do the cool that they're known for from their games. And the absolute abhorrent hand wave bad faith argument of, well, then just go play those other games if you want to use those weapons is asinine. The devs has said it themselves that they balance these weapons, these collaborative weapons, based on how they were from their respective IPs. So if that's the case, Arrowhead has not been doing a very good job. Period. End of story. With the Killzone Warbond and the Halo 3 ODST Warbond. I made a video probably 2 or 3, 4 months back, basically talking about what I thought at the time was the worst Warbond in Helldivers, which is the Killzone Warbond. I've kind of changed my tune a little bit more.
Legitimately, some of the guns, the AR and the SMG. I remember I was playing on the PS3, and they had these little robot dudes you could shoot. I remember specifically that I could take them down with the AR. That inherently means that it's at least medium pin. 2 heavy pin damages or modifiers, right? It's at least medium pin because it's a robotic thing and not a fleshy target, which is something that I saw specifically in that PS3 game. The fact that it became light pin and its damage wasn't even that great. Like we're talking, you didn't even need to shoot like a spot on it specifically to kill it faster. There was one, but it wasn't necessary. The guns were just good enough on their own. And so like again, another example of like why a light pin doesn't work for the legendary war bonds.
Because as time has gone on, I really do think, and this is no bias for me now, there is actually something useful in the Killzone Warbond. That's the Plasma Accelerator. We'll get to that here in a minute because I still think the Plasma Accelerator has problems. But the Halo 3 ODST Warbond is by far the worst one in the game. By far. None of the stuff that's inside the Halo 3 ODST Warbond is even remotely how it was in Halo. Period. End of story. The M7S is not medium range. It does not come with the 2x scope. The M6C is not a medium range pistol, and it should be a medium range pistol.
Can we talk about the fact that they went with the Halo first person thing with the AR, but didn't do it with the SMG or the pistol? The pistol is supposed to be able to destroy armor, and yet for some odd reason it's light pin only. It makes no sense. I don't even know much about the SMG, but I saw some stuff on it. And from what I understand, the SMG was supposed to be used similar to like a sniper rifle for the most part. And it's like it's crazy to see like the guns are not remotely how they're supposed to be from their actual games. Like it's crazy. If you actually just look at those games versus what we have today, you'll be like, man, this is trash.
Okay? That's how it was in Halo 3 ODST. It was the best sniper in the game. That's how good it was. The MA5C was a shield stripper. Now, I say Halo 3 and then Halo 3 ODST. The Halo 3 ODST one was not particularly great. It's actually probably like a D tier weapon. But in Halo 3, which is literally ripped straight from Halo 3 ODST into Halo 3 and vice versa, you could shield strip the heavy armor brutes with not even a full mag. Just shield strip them, and then you can just switch to something else, and then, you know, deal something that has more fleshy damage to it, right? And of course, because I'm known as the M90A guy, all right, the M90A has not the power fantasy as how it was in the Halo games at all.
That shotgun, legitimately, there was an argument on Reddit a while back. They were trying to say like it shouldn't be that powerful. The Punisher doesn't have that kind of power. It doesn't have the ability to penetrate. It's a shotgun. It's shooting out pellets. It shouldn't be able to penetrate armor. And like I was sitting there, like I remember I even dipped into this stuff saying you're talking about a weapon that's job is to put out force onto the target. It's not trying to penetrate. It's trying to destroy your insides from the outside, right? That's its whole job. So if I shot you and you're wearing armor, right, with a shotgun, you're still gonna feel that, right? Like I think this is similar to how RPGs work, right? Like they do outside damage that causes the inside to feel the force of it. If I'm not mistaken, that's how that works. And so like the idea that the shotguns weren't doing medium pin damage was crazy. But then, for some odd reason, they never buffed the M90A, the Halo shotgun, but they brought in a gun called the Double Freedom, which is a double barrel shotgun that I think shoots like eight gauge slugs or something. Not slugs, but 8 gauge shells. Anyway, this Double Freedom shotgun had way more damage than the M90A did, right? Sure, it's a double barrel, but it did way more damage and it was medium pinned. It was able to one tap the head of an overseer. Guaranteed. You need at least 300 damage for that. So guaranteed the one tap the head of that. And then they brought out the sweeper, and the sweeper was doing more damage. I think it's weaker than the M90A, but it's got a faster rate of fire simply because it's full automatic pump action. Has a higher rate of fire, and it still has the ability to one tap the head of a of an overseer, right? So like they brought out two shotguns that proved that if you were to give medium pin to a shotgun, it would be far greater than it is right now. The M98 needs it, bro. It needs it bad, and for some odd reason, they don't want to give it to it.
Because of this, and because of the precedent or the track record that Arrowhead has right now, whenever it comes down to these war bonds, especially the more collaborative war bonds, I am not really excited for this war bond at all. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, be very skeptical whenever this war bond does release. Listen to your favorite YouTuber about this before you buy it. I would not purchase this. Period in a story. I would wait until the reviews come out. Okay? And once we figure out more information about it, I would, like even before it releases, once we get more information about what guns are in it, what are the stats of the guns, what's going to be light pen versus medium pen, what's going to be heavy pen, is there going to be stratagems in this, is it actually going to give the power fantasy? I would be extremely hesitant because Arrowhead does not have a good track record, and for whatever reason, they just refuse to have a good track record with this. They refuse to buff the older collab weapons, and they should, by the way, because it only nets them positive.
Arrowhead's been having a bad track record for a while now, and they haven't really made any progress in actually making the sentiment for the players better. Everything that they do seems either vague or menacing in some form of way, like they're just actively trying to antagonize the player base. It doesn't help that they have so many glazers actively trying to fight for them, actively trying to act as if everything they do is perfect and in no form of way could be in wrong. It's crazy what we've been seeing from this the glazer side of the Helldivers community. Honestly, at this point, though, it feels as if they're losing power because I think even they are starting to realize that the game is in a way worse state than it should be. But I'm telling you, and I'm telling you this for a reason, uh, they've been in a bad state for a while. They need to do better before this game gets shut down.
People would then buy the Killzone stuff. I know people within my audience that have not bought the Killzone stuff because they know it's garbage. It's literally printing free money if they simply just change certain stats, right? Which then goes into the Plasma Accelerator, right? I think the Plasma Accelerator is probably the best primary, collab weapon in the game right now, okay? But it's still not to snuff, as it does not set things on fire, because that's how it was in the games. Now, I'm not I'm not a Killzone guy. I never played the games, but even though I think that the Plasma Accelerator is good, it feels like a pseudo support weapon. It doesn't set things on fire. That's how it was in the games, so that's how it should do in Helldivers 2. By the way, this is the precedent that the devs has set themselves.
We changed the accelerator rifle.
Yes.
What's up? What about that?
Yeah, the problem with the accelerator rifle usually is that you have very few rounds in it, which is how it worked in the original game.
Yeah.
So the way we intend to try to fix this now is to just give you more ammunition, more magazines. So
right, so I don't get a bigger magazine, I just get more.
Sadly not, because we want to keep it to Stay true to the original. Sadly not, because we want to keep it to Stay true to the original. Sadly not, because we want to keep it to Stay true to the original. Sadly not, because we want to keep it to Stay true to the original. Sadly not, because we want to keep it to Stay true to the original.
So don't argue with me about, and don't tell me in bad faith, like, oh, you should just go play other games or go play those games if you want to. No. They're putting this stuff in the game. It should do what it did in those games because that is the precedent that they set. Otherwise, don't put collab weapons in the game. If you can't hold yourself to your own standard, then don't put it in the game. It is literally that simple. That simple. Don't do it. If you can't hold yourself to your own standard, then don't do it. It's good to see that players are not blindly just taking this as being like, oh my god, it's Warhammer 40k, guys. Oh my god. They're saying, listen, you guys don't have a good track record. It's time to change that. I really do think they should go back and really update the other weapons, because the other weapons are still not up to snuff. They're not how they were in the games. The devs are not holding themselves to their own standards whenever it comes down to collab weapons, and this has been a big stickler of mine. Because these games are beloved, these particular IPs that they're using, in order to sell you something, in order for them to be making money, they are basically just spitting on the IP. They're not actually holding themselves to their own standard, which is my biggest problem. Okay? So, what is my overall reaction to this? I've kind of already said it already. I'm surprised by this, but I'm not excited because nothing was really introduced or really shown in this trailer. We had some of the devs paint some figures. There might be a secret meeting there, where, one of the guns that they're painting on, one of the characters is probably one of the guns that are, that are being used or whatever, are going to be in the game or whatever. Personally, me, my kind of wish list for this. One, first and foremost, you got to have the power fantasy there. From the Warhammer 40k series. If you don't have the power fantasy, it's not Warhammer 40k. Okay? Just period, end of story. If that is the bare minimum, by the way. I don't care if it's the Craig or the Cadians. You got to have that power fantasy. If you do not have that,
a las gun's supposed to hit like a 50 cal rifle. So if that thing happens to be a light pen, it's going to be beyond stupid. But a las gun specifically is supposed to hit like a 50 cal rifle, and they vary a little bit depending on who's writing the story. But one of the most consistent things is it's that it's a very strong weapon in a world where things are stronger than it. It is the litmus test of saying if something's stronger. If it's stronger than this, then it's certainly pretty wild.
that power fantasy, this is a shit tier warbond. This might be actually the worst warbond in the game. If you do not have that power fantasy, if it does not live up to snuff, this is the worst, absolute worst warbond in the game if you don't have that. But as far as like what I like to see, I think Cadian soldiers probably fit best within the Helldivers universe. I know people are going to say Craigs. I like the Craigs too. They're cool. But I think Cadians,
it needs to be Tau. Again, the biggest issue that GW is going to have is that they're going to be working side by side with AI, and so it has to be Tau because Tau are the only ones who could really realistically get away with it. Before you say like, what about the servo skulls? At the end of the day, servo skulls can't work on the basis of the fact that like it's too on the nose, right? Like when you think about the average Helldiver, like they've got skulls on their armor and stuff like that, on their iconography, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that obvious, right? They don't just have a skull sitting on the side of their body. Um, or someone's torso, whatever. On average, it's just a skull in their iconography. And so it's number one, it's just too on the nose and it just doesn't work for like the Helldivers lore itself. But then they still want to look like heroes, even though they're supposed to be the evil guys. They still want to look like heroes. And so that idea just wouldn't work with the Servo Skull. But then there's this idea of AI, and the AI, the Imperium hates AI. It just really wouldn't work. So it's going to have to be the Tau.
are probably more grunt-like, if that makes any sense. I know that's a dirty word these days in Helldivers, but like I feel like that fits a little bit better. Just in my opinion. I would not be opposed to Craig's though, because I think Craig's look cooler. But I think Cadian, like the Cadian armor set, just feels better for Helldivers. But you guys let me know what you think down in the comment section below. As always, I want to thank my channel members, as your support is greatly appreciated.
I think that we might get the armor, right? Like I could maybe see them giving us some kind of Cadian armor, but I think in general it would still be Tau related. The only reason I say that is that I feel like I could somewhat see them giving us some Cadian armor because it's iconic, but I don't see them not making it Tau related. There's just too much issues with GW and their lore for them to be able to do something like that, and they still have to somehow make it work for GW so that they can put it in their game in general. So I wonder how they're going to tie it in, and is it going to be a matter of like that world died and this is just the remnants of it or whatever? Is that what's going to happen? I don't know. But that's the end of the video. We got like maybe a couple things. He's probably just going to talk about his people here. Guys, thanks for watching with me. Thanks for looking at my reaction. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Later.